I can do, there's several ways that I raise issues in the House. One is these petitions. I know it doesn't seem like much, but every day in the House of Commons I can stand and present usually 1 or 2 petitions, which puts an issue forward, requires a government response in writing, and allows you to speak to it. That's the least effective, but it's more effective than nothing, which is why I like to have petitions. The other one is I ask a question in question period once a week, and what's interesting is that in the same way that John Baird didn't really have to call me last week, when I put a question to the Prime Minister, he generally answers my question. Well, he doesn't answer my question. He stands up and responds to my question, which he doesn't necessarily have to do either. So that raises it. In order to have an actual debate on the issue, until I'm in a caucus of 12, we don't get the right to put forward an opposition day debate. But the Liberals and the New Democrats can't. The Bloc can't either because they're under 12 right now. So there are debates that take place that are issue focused. And then the other way to have a debate is if it is appropriate for a private member's bill. But private members' bills are, limited in that you can't put forward a bill that requires expenditure of money, and but the other parties, certainly the NDP and the Liberals, have opportunities to say this should be debated, and we're putting it forward as a motion. The other thing I've done a number of times is to request of the Speaker that we have an emergency debate. But there are no set criteria for when an issue is an emergency. And so far, every time I've asked for an emergency debate, the Speaker has said that's not an emergency. But it seems pretty, again, emergency debate on the XL beef E. coli outbreak. I actually speak more in the House than any other MP, so I do get heard. But I do. I speak more in the House of Commons than any other member of Parliament. But in terms of getting a debate on my issue, in other words, I can speak on the agendas others are putting forward. But for me to get, and I've tried several times to get a debate on an emergency basis, and I said the Speaker agreed to a debate on the XL beef scandal, but not on Canada announcing we were about to withdraw from Kyoto. So one wasn't an emergency, the other I have to work through. Quite often the Speaker is given discretionary powers and isn't bound by precedent and isn't bound by criteria. So, not to say I overall, compared to what I thought I could accomplish before I got elected in terms of working towards greater decorum in the House, that's been working pretty well, although I haven't achieved it yet, obviously. But it's getting noticed, and they don't heckle me, except for very, very rarely, because they know I'm working towards decorum, and it doesn't look good on the other parties if they shout me, And so that's working. But the numbers of things I thought I could do, I've actually found I could do more than I thought I could do when I was first in this hall asking for your vote to be your MP. And being in the House all the time, as I am, is why I speak more in the House than any other MP.
Yes.
Because the others are very rarely there. As a matter of fact, that's one of the misconceptions about my life. Most people think it must be very unpleasant to be there, because all you see on television is question period. And I agree, that 1 hour a day is really horrible. But for the rest of the day, I pretty much have a place to myself. It's
That does not seem very
there really is hardly anyone else there. And the ones that are there are, because they're not being whipped up into a frenzy, I'm able to leave my seat and wander over and sit with a friend on the Conservative side of the House while somebody else is speaking. There's a 20-minute period where I have to be in my seat to ask a question. But if somebody's speaking for 20 minutes and you want to have a quiet conversation with someone else, it's very easy to wander over and sit with them and chat about this and that, and then go back to my seat.